Welcome to Seek Reality with Roberta Grimes. Joyous conversations about what the afterlife evidence and modern science combine to tell us is true about our one reality. You have nothing to fear. You are eternal and you are perfectly loved. Knowing the truth changes everything. Now, here's Roberta.
Welcome to Seek Reality. I'm Roberta Grimes, and I'm so happy to have you with us today. My dear, dear Seek Reality friends, I hear from so many people who are devastated at the loss of a loved one. And often that loved one is four-legged instead of two-legged. I really love the fact that the news that I have to give them is all so wonderful, no matter how many legs are involved. I've spent half a century studying the afterlife evidence, the best of which is now close to a century and a half old, and I'm thrilled to tell you that where you and I and our pets will be going after this life is of course, our regal life. And we'll be joining our loved ones there, both two-legged and four-legged, who have gone on ahead of us. It'll be the best reunion you can imagine, so no worries about any of that. And it's true that surprisingly often, what people worry about most is their beloved companion animals, their dogs, their cats, their horses. For me, it's a horse, that have lately died, and they now are deeply grieving them. So I'm really relieved to be able to tell them that the evidence is overwhelming that Fluffy and Fido both are just fine. Every animal that you ever have loved and that loved you, that's important, will be waiting for you when you transition, and they're now young again, healthy, happy, and they'll jump all over you. And here today to tell us all about it is our great friend Karen Anderson. Seek Reality's wonderful afterlife animal expert is with us today for the seventh time. Karen is a natural psychic who loves animals, so of course she's gravitated toward becoming an animal psychic. She has documented her career in 3 books called Hear All Creatures, The Amazing Afterlife of Animals, and her most recent book is called The Pet I Can't Forget, Finding Hope and Healing with Signs from the Afterlife. And we're going to talk a lot about that today, the signs our pets are likely to give us. Besides offering courses in animal communication, Karen now devotes her life to helping animals in need as the founder and CEO of Painted Rain Ranch. Don't you love that name, Painted Rain Ranch? It's a nonprofit animal sanctuary. Karen's 30-acre ranch is a project that's very near and dear to her heart. We'll talk about that too. It provides a final refuge for the pets no one else wants, including elderly, special needs, and abandoned companion animals that otherwise might not find a home. Oh, Karen, my dear friend, welcome back. It's so lovely to have you back with us today.
Thank you. I get all choked up just hearing that because I want all the animals to have a home. It's like, oh, wish I could take them all.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of tragic because people, when they move, or, maybe just because their animal can't walk very well anymore, they can't take them on walks or something. Sometimes people just drop them off at the vets. I mean, it's a terrible thing, but that's what happens.
It is. It's really sad. And I am always watching to see the ones that are, very unlikely to be adopted. So they're the ones that, generally either aren't going to be here very long in the physical realm, or they have major health issues, they're blind, they're deaf, or they have some kind of serious condition. And most people don't want to take that on. They don't want to fall in love with someone only to very shortly after that have to say goodbye. And my thought is, I have a beautiful farm that has just gorgeous gardens and flowers and fruit trees, and what a lovely place for an animal to spend their last days, months, whatever it turns out to be. So I just want to share that with them and give them the opportunity to live out the rest of their natural life without having to worry about being returned or adopted and returned. They're part of our family. And no matter how long they're here, we take care of them and they get to enjoy the beauty of the ranch.
Actually, the reason we had, when my kids were, young, we had dogs and we had a lot of cats and we had a lot of animals around. And we decided when our oldest dogs were, eventually we decided that was the end. You love them, and then when you really think you're always going to have them is when they're too old and they develop illnesses, and then they when you go take them to the vet gives you the story about how, it's time.
Yeah.
Or that you're it's easier with cats somehow because cats live longer. I mean, we
Some
had
of
one
them.
cat that was almost 30 when the vet
Oh
said,
my gosh.
yeah, the
Wow.
vet said, here's the story. And we just still didn't believe it. And finally, the cat had a stroke and could only walk in circles. And the vet said, now look,
Yeah.
there's nothing you can do for this
Yeah.
cat. So we finally did say okay. But it still, even then,
Yeah. It never
my
gets
horse was
easier.
30 and couldn't get up. I finally
Yes.
gave in. But a dog, you just get real comfortable with that
Yeah.
dog, and the dog is 12, and the vet says this is it.
I know they don't live long enough, right?
No, not at all. So
And
finally,
it,
my husband and I looked at one another and said, "All right, we don't have kids anymore, and we want to be able to travel, and it's not fair to the dog for us to travel." So we didn't get any more dogs.
yeah. I have mostly cats here. We had one dog, one horse, and I won't say how many cats. More than three.
More than three.
More than three. You never see more than three of them at once. So that's what I say. People say, "Well, how many cats do you have?" Well, more than three, because you only see three at a time. They just kind of like they go all over the place. And we have a few chickens, but we lost a lot, Roberta. When I was writing my last book, I lost 8 of our companions during the process of writing that book. So it was absolutely devastating. And just when I thought I could focus again and start writing again, as an author, you got to be focused when you're writing. You got to have a clear mind. Right when I was ready to start writing again, I'd lose another. So it really set me back quite far. But finally got the book written, and of course, it's out now. And it never gets any easier. Every single loss now, especially at this age where I am, it seems to be getting harder to say goodbye. I don't know. Do you find that too, that it gets harder the older we get?
It's terrible. And so all right, so after you just said that, you decided, okay, I don't have enough pain in my life, so I think I'll make a sanctuary
I know, right?
full of animals so that I can have a great deal of pain all the time. I'll just
I
fall in love
know.
with them and then have them die. What a good idea.
I know, right? Common sense doesn't apply. Take common sense out of it. I have none. I have a great love for animals, and I have space. I have the ability to care for them, and I've learned a lot. You learn a lot when you have animals that aren't healthy. You become a good nurse. Excuse me.
I would imagine, but it doesn't strike me as a very sensible way for you to live your
No,
life. Because I was trying to have you as a guest during that time, and the answer you kept giving me was, "I'm writing a book. I don't have the time to be a guest," and I almost gave up on you then.
I'm sorry. I so appreciate coming on the show, but I just felt like I had nothing left to give after losing all those guys. And I'm not a hypocrite because I do write about they're always here, they're always with you, they're always near. But grief is still grief, and I'm still human, and I still process my grief just like everyone else does. And yes, I can communicate with them. Yes, I understand that they're around me, but it still hurts. deeply.
Okay, let's talk about that because I hear from people who have lost a loved one, whether two or four-legged, just about every day. And I have to take time in my day to write to them because they won't really wait. They're in pain right now,
Right.
and
Right.
they think of me as the person who can help alleviate their pain, and I try. And so, I mean, my book, The Fun of Staying in Touch, for those listening, is about signs that our loved ones give us, whether two-legged or four-legged. And there are a lot of particular signs, because we're talking about four-legged loved ones today. There are a lot of signs that our four-legged loved ones give us, whether they're a dog or a cat or a horse. Now talk about some of the loved ones that are cats or dogs might give us.
And let's not forget our feathered friends, our two-legged feathered
Um,
friends. And
Feathered friends too.
yep, and some people have reptiles as pets. So,
Gee.
anybody that's a pet,
The one
let's
thing I don't allow for is signs from scaly feathered friends. They or whatever those are. I don't even know what those are. I'm not happy about snakes. I have a snake friend. Sorry.
I've never had a pet snake, but I know many clients who have, so I want to include them too. They grieve just like the rest of us do. So I
Cannot
understand
imagine.
anybody that's a pet to you, however many legs or scales or feathers they have. But uh, I think one
You
of
have
the
to have at least two legs.
at least two at least two legs. Um, I had a snake one time tell me, let me just throw this in real fast. One time I was communicating with a snake. She was alive. And she looked at me and she said, "You humans are so strange. What is this thing you call fear?" Yeah, and I didn't even know how to answer that. I was like, whoa.
Wait a minute, let's get the picture of this. You're communicating with a snake by mind. Okay, all right. And the snake didn't know what fear is?
What is this thing you humans call fear? Everyone feared her. Everyone was afraid of her. Oh, a snake. Ew, ew, I hate
Yeah,
snakes.
exactly.
So I found myself trying to explain human behavior to a snake. It's like the snake was asking me the questions. It was very interesting and enlightening at the same time. I never thought about it that way from the animal's point of view. Why do humans freak out so bad? Why? She's just who she is.
She's
And
slithery and icky. Did you ever explain it to her that way?
she was beautiful. She was a rosy boa. She was beautiful,
She's a
actually.
boa. No wonder they
Rosie
were.
boa. Yeah, she's very pretty. So you never know what they're going to say. But back to your question, what kind of signs do the animals send? I think the most common one I hear when people write to me after they read my book, or even before they read my book, is they will have either a dream about their pet coming
Mhm.
to them, or they will feel their pet, they're awake, and they might be lying in bed, but they'll feel them walk over them or walk on the bed or jump on or jump off the bed. Like it's almost a surreal moment where
Yes.
maybe they're drifting in and out of sleep or they're just settling down or their mind is just resting. And it happens, and then it happens so fast. And of course, they look or they wake themselves up to look and see, and they don't see anything. So that's the most common one that I hear about.
That's what I hear about too. Sometimes people actually will see the little paw print
Yeah.
indents on the bed,
Yes.
and then
Yes.
they'll feel by their foot the animal land by their foot where it has
Yes.
always slept.
Yes. And for horse people, um, I had one client write to me and say, she was heartbroken because her horse had passed away. And she said, "Well, how come, my cats and my dogs have all walked across my bed and stuff. Why don't I see my horse?"
Clunk, 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 the bed
Right?
broke.
I said, "Well, first of all, my knee-jerk reaction is your horse isn't used to being in your room where your cats and dogs are used to being in your room, and they like to hang out in their favorite places.
Right.
So she just couldn't grasp the fact why she wasn't getting a horse stepping on her in the middle of the night. I thought, well, that would be kind of scary.
Right. I would say.
So we don't want to be scared. So generally speaking, you'll sense or feel your horse around you or near you when you are in places that a horse would normally be. But I thought that was a really good question too, right? I mean, how come the horse doesn't push on the bed? I don't know. It's not normal for a horse to be by the bed.
What I have found is that I mean, I had one very, very vivid dream of my horse, but beyond that, occasionally when I'm waking up, I just his head and neck, I'll get a hug from him in the way that he used to hug me when he was alive, which to me is a glorious feeling because he has a beautiful head and neck he had when he was alive, and now it's even more gorgeous, and a very thick mane. And so just to have that hug with his mane, it's just gorgeous. It's a gorgeous feeling. And
it is.
He still does it. And he died,
what,
15 years ago.
So special, isn't it? And that's what I hear from people is that, no, this wasn't, a real dream. This was real. This was real life. It wasn't a dream. It was real life. But then, Roberta, the first thing they want to say is, this can't be real, right? This is my imagination. This is me wishful thinking, right, Karen? This can't be real. And they doubt it. They doubt this experience. And now they're taking
because they don't know that it's real. I mean, you and I know it's real because we know what's really going on. So lucky for our pets, they know we don't doubt, so that our animals can come to us when they want to and not be doubted.
Yes, and it's so important to embrace those moments because that fuels them to do it again.
Yes, and speak to your animal and say that, that feels good, please do it again. Yes.
They felt me, they saw me, they heard me, they knew I was there.
Yes,
yay!
Of course. Yes.
And they want to do it again because if you don't acknowledge it, then they go, well, that took a lot of energy and it didn't result in anything.
Yeah.
I'm not going to do that again.
They'll move on.
Yeah. And it's not like they leave you, but they just won't try that, or they will do something that requires a little less energy. So it's so important for you to acknowledge, I felt you, I saw you, I heard you. Sometimes you can even smell them. I love the smell of a horse, right? They have that, I don't know, it's like this incredible, I can't even place it, but you can smell them. Sometimes like right after a cat bathes, when a cat's grooming and they're bathing themselves, they have there's like that freshly, I don't even know what it is, like a scent. It's like it's wonderful.
They smell like a cat. Yeah.
Yeah, just, you can just like breathe them in. So those moments when you have those experiences, they are real. They are as real as Roberta and I sitting here talking about this right now. They're real. They are purposeful, and they are intended for you to notice. And it is a visit. It is your beloved companion saying, I'm here. Look, here I am, and I'm fine. And life continues in the afterlife, and all is good. That's their way of letting you know, I'm never going to leave you. I'm never going to disappear or, go to someone else. Oh, that's the other thing. I hear that a lot. Is my pet going to go to someone else if I don't find them on reincarnation or something along those lines?
People worry a lot about reincarnation.
They do.
We have to reassure them about that. One thing is our pets are our pets forever.
Ours. Yes.
They love us and only us. What makes them have that permanent existence in the material world is us. Our love brings them into existence. Their love for us brings them into existence with us, that connection. They are not going to reincarnate with anybody else.
And I hear this too. Well, I split up with my partner, spouse, whatever. So who is my pet going to visit, me or my partner? Or if they reincarnate, who are they going to come back to? And they get real um, nervous or,
Realistic, kind of, yeah.
yeah, about where this animal is going to go and how it'll spend its time. And the one thing that I notice in afterlife communication is that in spirit, there is no boundary like what you and I have. Like you and I can only go to the beach. We can't go to the beach and the mountains at the same time because we're physical, so we can only be in one place at one time. We can astral travel to another place or time, but in reality, in the conscious living space that we're in one space at one time. In spirit, they can do many different things at once if they want to. They can visit more than one more than one people, more than one person. They can visit whoever they want simultaneously. They aren't bound by a physical body like you and I.
Yeah.
So there's no, oh, well, like how you split up your kids in a custody thing. Oh, well, you're with so and so this weekend, you're with so and so the next weekend. They can visit whoever they want, whenever they want, regardless of time. So that's really good to know that they're not bound like we are. They can do whatever they want, and they usually do their favorite things. And those favorite things generally revolve around us.
It's all about love. If you understand that love is the key to everything, then it all makes sense.
But see, that's so cliche and corny, and I'm saying that because I agree with you, but people don't want to grasp that as an
People
answer.
don't, people just don't get it.
They don't want to grasp, oh, that's too corny. It can't be that simple. But it
It
is
is.
that
Isn't that wonderful? It really is.
it is that simple. And it's not only simple, it's powerful because after all the trauma an animal may have been through, let's say it was a difficult end to
Yeah.
their physical being, whatever trauma occurred, when they're in the afterlife, it is as if that just gets erased. Like somebody pushed the delete button, that part of it got erased, and then they bring me right back to point and center, which is the love. The love they feel, the love they receive, the love they give. None of that other stuff matters. So I agree
Not at
with
all.
you wholeheartedly that we've moved too much away from love because we don't understand the power of it and how it's really the nucleus of everything that we do. Everything. They come through during an afterlife communication because of love. That's why they're there, because they love you and they want to share messages with you. They want you to know that they're okay and that they appreciate you. They don't come through because it's popular or hip or trendy. They come through because of love. They want
All
to
they care
connect.
about. That's truly
Yes.
all they care about. That's right.
Yes. So you have the power within yourself to expand that and to grasp that, embrace it, and make that a part of your experience and include them in your thoughts, include them in your day as you're walking around. I talk to all my companions. Every time I pass by their favorite spot, I'll talk to them just like they were still there in physical form. And, I get a lot of joy out of that. And I know that they love it when I say their names. They love that. It's like they light up like a Christmas tree. So that is a really beautiful thing
Yes.
when that happens because they're responding to literally a thought you have in your mind. You don't even have to say it out loud. You can just have that thought.
Yeah. No, it's really a wonderful thing.
It is.
What
Uh,
what's what's especially terrific about animals is that because human beings are much more complex than animals, the news with human beings, when people worry about the people who have transitioned, and they tell me the story of the person who has transitioned, sometimes I have to be cautious about what I say because I want to tell them the truth. And sometimes I worry a little bit about maybe that person is having some issues, either post-transition, and it'll come out okay in the end, but maybe it isn't, maybe they won't be able to communicate right away and so on. But I know that when Fluffy and Fido have transitioned, there are never any issues. I've never heard of a single
No,
situation when there have
no.
been issues for a companion animal. They're always fine and they only love us.
I
That's
am
it.
so agreeing with you. I'm actually trying to think of one example where the animal wasn't okay in the afterlife, and I'm hard pressed to come up with it. And I'm going to say there was one time where the client was so uh, depressed, grieving, sad, holding on to the grief and the pain, holding on to the pain, staying there in that place, that the animal was not at all harmed by it, but it almost felt like they felt responsible for their pain. Does that
Really?
make
You
sense?
found one
Yeah.
of those?
Yes, I did. And once I was able to help the client through delivering messages, evidential messages, that she could see that no one else in the world would know that except it was a cat. No one else would know that except her cat. She, in that moment, it literally released in that moment. It was like you could feel this expansion of her heart. And she was able to release that and finally let go because she was just holding on to the pain so much that this cat felt, well, gosh, every time mom thinks of me, she cries. Every time she hears my name, she feels horrible and tears come. And so the cat was feeling responsible isn't a good word, but it's the closest word I can get. So once that happened, it was like this pressure valve release. So
Really?
yes, so it is, one session out of many, 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 many sessions where the animal felt that
What,
connection.
responsible for that?
Yes, yes.
Huh.
But that's, like I said, one of many. So most of the time they are just fine, and they're wondering, why are you crying so much?
Yeah.
I'm fine. Look at me. I'm doing
Because
all
they
these
feel young
things.
and healthy and
Hmm.
and full of love, and they're just bouncing and full of joy. At least that's been every experience I've had with animals that have gone ahead. And as soon as people realize that and get, because the grief we have for our animals can block communication. The animal is trying, but our grief can block it. So if
Oh
we can
gosh.
just
Yes.
let go of
Yes.
the grief and open ourselves to the possibility of communication, the animal can get through. Just think of the joy of that. The animal feels recognized and feels that it's okay. We are not pushing the animal away with our grief. Instead, we're opening ourselves to the animal coming through to us.
And that
And
is that is
that,
so, so true.
yes,
Yes. And it makes me instantly go to the fact that many people will write, and probably to you too, when they are in that state of deep grief, like they can't even breathe. Like the grief is so heavy upon them, they can't function. And they're asking, well, why haven't I received any signs? Why haven't I had any dreams? Well, why don't I feel anything? Why don't I sense anything? I don't sense anything when I'm grieving. It's like your body is paralyzed from the emotional trauma of grief. You're not going to feel something, sense something, or pick up on a message because they can be very subtle, and your body is in self-preservation mode when you're grieving. So like protecting itself from any more harm. So imagine there's like this protective blanket over you when you're grieving. So nothing's getting through because you're already in so much pain. There's this blanket of grief over you going, nope, I don't care what you are, good or bad, stay away from me. I'm grieving, leave me alone. So when an animal tries to send you a message, it can't get through. So when you're in that place, that very, very deep level of grief, it's really, really rare to receive a message because you just simply can't. Now, once you start to process and you begin to go, okay, today I'm just going to breathe. Today I'm just going to, do one good thing today to make me smile, one nice thing today or to make myself happy, whatever it is to get you going. That's when the shift happens and those messages can start to come through because they're communicating with you almost instantly when they leave their body. They're letting you know, I'm here, I'm fine, don't worry. It's just us. And it happens to me too. So don't feel like you are the one and only this never happens to, because I see that a lot, especially on social media feeds where someone will say, well, I got this sign, well, I got that sign, well, I had a dream, well, I could feel him, well, I this, and then someone will come along and go, oh my gosh, I haven't had any of those experiences yet. Well, their beloved companion just passed away, just recent. So they're still in that place of not being able to receive those messages. And it just takes time, takes a while for you to open yourself up again to be able to receive those messages.
Some of them are very quick. The first message I got from Bo, my horse, I was driving. Even though I don't go to church, I thought it was important for my young grandchildren to go to church. So I was driving them to church one morning, and I got a call from the place where I kept him when we had first moved to Texas. And it was the call everybody dreads. I mean, he was almost 30, and the woman who was caring for him said he's fallen and we can't get him up. Almost 30, arthritic. What do you want us to do? Do you want us to call the vet? I didn't want to call the vet. I said, I think it's time. And that was the hardest thing for me to say because I wanted to be there, but I couldn't. I had 3 little kids in the car. We were heading for church. So I did what I did the right thing as opposed to what I wanted to do. And so she said, okay. And then as soon as I got them into the Sunday school classes, and they were like 3, 4, and 5 years old. These were young children. So I called her to say, I wait a minute till after church. Then instead, what I heard from her was, well, the vet came and he has just had his shot. So I'm going to cry. I'm not going to do that. And so, okay, so then I went into the service and I was crying. And I looked at there was a giant screen behind the pastor. And on that screen, the only time I've ever seen this before or since, was a beautiful, gigantic picture of a field. Now, a friend of mine, horseback riding friend of mine, had just had to put down her gray mare that she had ridden for many years. On that screen was a big green field. My Beau was a liver chestnut, dark, looked like a black horse. In that field were grazing 2 horses, a gray horse and a black horse. If that was not a sign, I've never seen that picture before or since. Right. If that was not a sign, you tell me what would be a sign.
Right. So, and again, you have to embrace that and say, yes, I was supposed to see that. That was purposeful. That was full of intention.
He had not stopped breathing on this side maybe 10 minutes before.
Right. And there was your very first sign. And this happens so often And you were there to go, wow, I can't believe I'm seeing this, but there it is.
I stopped dead. I said,
Yeah,
"Oh, thank you, Bo.
yes,
Thank you, Bo. I
yes,
know you're fine."
yes. And it's just amazing when we allow those experiences to be what they are. When we allow it, more will follow. And it just is like the tip of the iceberg. The more that you embrace it, the more that you welcome and invite it, the more messages follow. And it's just a matter of trusting and believing and knowing that there's very little that separates us from those in spirit. It's really just I can't even call it a veil. You know, many people call it a veil, but
There
there
is no
really
veil. There's nothing between us
there
except
really isn't.
our willingness to see. That's the only thing that
Yes,
separates
that
us at all.
yes, because it's different than what we experienced before. You know, it's different than the physical realm that we live in. So therefore we think that they must be somewhere else or, you know, separated by something, you know, huge. But our dimensions overlap. Our dimensions are all around each other. So there is no reason why you can't connect on the same level or new levels all around you. And it does take mindfulness. And like I said earlier, grief will sometimes paralyze that or at least put a hold on it for a while. So you just have to keep trying and stay open.
Got to
And
stay open. That's the
yep,
main thing.
yep, because
That's
it
that's
will
right.
happen. It will
And
happen.
to me, the most important thing for each person, and I've said this over and over, people don't believe me. The certainty that our lives are eternal is the most important thing for each of us
Yeah,
to learn.
yeah.
Most people are afraid of that truth, and I don't know why. I
I
think
don't
they're
know.
afraid that if they open themselves to learn that truth, what if they still don't believe?
Yeah,
They're afraid to know the truth. Jesus said, "You will know the truth, and the truth will make you free." But they're afraid that if they learn the truth, what if it doesn't make them free? They won't trust even Jesus.
right. And there's that thing that humans call fear. There it is again. What is this thing, fear? What is it? It's a non-truth. It's an unreal thought. It's a thought. That's all it is.
The
It's a
fake thought.
yeah. And it's so powerful. How can something that's not even real be that powerful over your life?
I don't
That's
know, but they give it precedence. People are so afraid to look at the evidence because what if they don't believe it?
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Well, I spent when I was young, I spent 2 years looking at the evidence, and then I said, I guess I have to believe it. There's no way not to believe it. You got to
Right?
believe it. And ever since then, I've known that whether you like it or not, you're going to live forever. So you may as well live this life as if it's not going to end, because it won't.
Yep.
But isn't that wonderful? I changed my mind while I was driving. I said, I'm going to just put those kids in their nursery. I'm going to let them go to Sunday school. I'm going to make that poor horse suffer, unable to get up, and then I'm going to take them home, and then I'm going to go and be with him. What a stupid, selfish thought that was. But I had that thought then. I could not bear to have him to not be there after 30 years. I was going to be there when they put him down. That was a stupid, selfish thought. But I still had that thought. I called her and I said, "Don't do it." She said, we have just given him the shot, and he is fine. He is passed." And I couldn't believe it. And I said, "No." And I cried. I was crying, and I went back in there, and there was his sign right there behind the minister.
That everything was fine. I know
Yeah,
sometimes,
here he was grazing with his friend
right?
on
Some
top of it
things
all,
are
who had
just
just
meant to
died.
happen. You know, if we try to control the outcome, sometimes have you ever done that? Like you really try to control the outcome of something
No,
and then
let
it
go and let God.
blows up in your face and then you think, God, what in the heck happened here? Well, it wasn't you weren't supposed to control the outcome. Just let it
No,
go.
no. And then
Let go.
not that night, but the night after that was when I got a wonderful, wonderful song, long, and it was a whole story. This dream was a whole story,
Wow.
communication dream from him. Oh, it
Beautiful.
was terrific. Yes.
Beautiful. So,
And I still
truly
get
the
these signs from him. I mean, it's like we have a whole new life now.
I
So,
love it.
and I have asked my spirit guide, will he come from, can I have him come for me to my bedside? And he said it's already been arranged. Apparently my horse arranged it. I didn't even have to arrange it.
It's a beautiful thing. It really is. And
Yes.
it brings a lot of comfort to know that, they'll all be there. All your loved ones, your animal companions will all be there.
I'll
And
be there.
yep,
I mean, this reality is just a pale illusion. It's all an illusion. And our real lives are far more wonderful than anything we can possibly imagine.
and it's so true. And what I have realized in the work that I have done is that your thoughts are as real to your companions as your physical actions. So as you sit and think about a beloved companion, just by thinking of them in terms of present tense, that they're still here, that you love them or miss them, or whatever it is that you want to share with that animal, they get to experience that as if it were really happening. So there is no separation between thought and a physical action. So if you're missing your companion and maybe a snuggling moment or where they used to come sit next to you or whatever it is, just think about that and they get to experience it as if it were actually happening.
Oh, what a wonderful thought that is. That is wonderful, Karen. So beautiful.
We love
Yeah,
them, don't
it,
we?
it's it
We
is
love them
so
so much.
glorious that we have our wonderful companion animals.
Truly.
So much they add to our lives.
Yes, I've learned more from the animals than from any other relationship or source or it's just being with them and being a caretaker. We take on a lot of that responsibility, but we're also supposed to expand and learn and grow, even in the ones that don't end the way that we want them to. We're still supposed to experience that as many different situations as possible. And that's what our animals bring to us. They put us in predicaments we would never be in if they weren't in our lives. And that's part of the celebration.
You're not going to believe this. We're really at the end of our time.
What?
I know. It always does
No.
this. Yes. But tell us a little about the Painted Rain Ranch. Now, if people say, "Oh, I want to have my animals spend time there," or if they would like to contribute to help support it or whatever, how would they do that? How would they do any of those things?
Thank you for asking me. We are a family run and operated, all volunteer. It's just me. And my husband, he does the heavy lifting, but it's me. And you can go to our website, paintedrainranch.org, and you can see all the resident animals that we have there. And there's a walking tour, a drone footage. You can see the beautiful grounds. You can meet all the little residents. And we don't take in surrendered animals. I only work through local shelters. Sometimes they're not local, but I try to find those pets that no one else wants, like we said earlier. So when I have space and time and I can devote myself 100% to somebody new, we'll welcome in someone new. And I just brought two rescues in, two cats in February of 2024. And so they're just now starting to get used to things and they're going outside, they're in the flowers and in the gardens. It's just a beautiful thing. These were cats that are feral, semi-feral. You can't touch them. Nobody wanted them. They were in the shelter for over 400 days. They had no adoptions, nothing, or applications for adoption. So the director and I talked about it, and I said I would take them both. They were both suffering from stomatitis. They had no teeth. They had ulcers in their mouth, very sick cats, and now they're doing great. We rely on donations to support these animals and to give them their best life. So please visit our website. We have an Amazon wish list, a Chewy wish list, and you can make a direct donation. You can also book a session with one of my colleagues, and a portion of the proceeds for animal communication goes to the nonprofit. And my books as well, a portion of proceeds go toward the animals. So that's how you can help us out. And just tell others about us. We have a Facebook page, and we're doing some great things for animals that otherwise would be overlooked at the shelter.
My dear friend Karen Anderson, is your website, Karen Anderson, is KarenAnderson.net, right?
Yes, that's me. You can find everything there as well, KarenAnderson.net. I also have a free app, a mobile app, Pet Loss, Hope, and Healing. You can download free download. Tons of content about the afterlife, pet loss, animal communication training. There's even my plant-based lifestyle recipes, some of my favorite recipes in there. So yeah, I have tons of videos on my YouTube channel. So yeah, so much for somebody who's maybe new to animal communication, or maybe you've just recently lost a pet and you need some insight and guidance. Lots of info for you.
Well, consider yourself hugged, my dear, and we will have you back again soon.
Thank you so much.
And once again, everybody, we have come to the end of our time. I'm so sorry about that, but this has been Seek Reality with Roberta Grimes. I'm so happy you could be with us today. Please never forget that you are a powerful, eternal being. You never began, you never will end. And when you get that, it changes everything in your life for the better. Next week, our guest will be John R. Audette. He'll be with us for the 5th time. John is a lifelong scholar of spirituality and spiritually transformative experiences, or STEs, and he's been in this field basically since God was a child. He knew everybody at the founding. He is actually the principal founder of the International Association for Near-Death Studies, or IANDS, and he knew some of the most sainted pioneers. He knew people like Dr. Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, which gets a great big wow from me. More recently, he's contributed chapters about spiritually transformative experiences and non-local consciousness to several scholarly books, and he currently serves as the president and CEO of Eternia, which he co-founded with Dr. Evan Alexander and the late Dr. Edgar Mitchell, the Apollo 14 astronaut, for heaven's sake, who was the 6th man to walk on the moon. Remember that? John Audette has written his own book on spiritually transformative experiences and what we can learn from them. It's called Loved by the Light, True Stories of Divine Intervention and Providence, and it's available on Amazon. He's a sort of a quiet, not a very assuming guy, but I think you'll enjoy listening to him. So please be sure to join us next week. And today our guest has been my longtime friend, Karen Anderson, who's been with us for the 7th time. Karen is a natural psychic who loves animals, as you can hear, and so she's gravitated toward becoming an animal psychic. She's documented her career in 3 books called Hear All Creatures, The Amazing Afterlife of Animals, and her recent book, which is called The Pet I Can't Forget. We all have one of those, at least one, as you heard. Mine is a horse. The Pet I Can't Forget, Finding Hope and Healing with Signs from the Afterlife. Karen has long been a favorite with Seek Reality listeners, although there was a big gap there when she was working on her book. And she's now, of course, running this sanctuary, which is very precious to her. And all of these websites and so on will be in the materials to this podcast, so you don't have to run off the road to write them down again. I'm not going to give them to you here. They'll all be in the materials. But I think Karen is a joy, frankly, to hear her talk about animals and so on. I really love having her as a guest. And as you know, our great friend Craig Hogan is the president of Seek Reality Online, which is your one-stop resource for all things afterlife. You're going to live forever. Just get used to that idea. Go to seekreality.com and start to learn for yourself that your own reality is eternal, yes, but it's going to be glorious. And teachingsbyjesus.com is your single resource for all the beautiful divine truths that are brought to us in perfect love by the greatest teacher of them all, Master Jesus. He didn't start Christianity. Christianity now is dying because it was started by the Romans, and they really basically got it wrong. But Jesus got it right in the first place, and he's coming back now to teach it to us all. So you can learn it now at teachingsbyjesus.com, which he asked us to start for him. So if you go there now, you can start to learn the right way. Also, as you know, I have some books, but I don't have time to tell you what they are because we are totally out of time because I so much enjoy talking with Karen. So this has been Seek Reality with Roberta Grimes. Please enjoy and please make the most of this coming week in our One Reality, always knowing that you are a powerful, eternal being. You never began, you never will end, and you always, most of all, in the entire universe, you are a powerful, eternal being, and you are infinitely, eternally, and very powerfully loved.
You've been listening to Seek Reality with Roberta Grimes. Roberta blogs and answers questions at robertagrimes.com. Join us every week as we explore what the afterlife evidence and modern science combine to tell us is true about the one reality we all share. Knowing the truth changes everything.